Good afternoon, YouTubers. Been to work today and it's been horrible. It's been really windy, and my wife's on the roof there. She's doing something to the outside of the boat, and I was going to talk to you about air rifles, because as you know, I like air rifles. There's all different kinds nowadays. When I was a kid, my air rifle that I had, that was really good one, I had a few, but one of the best that I had was a BSA Cadet, I believe it was 177. You know, one of those ones that you break the barrel open and you put the pellet in and close it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant piece of kit. I think somebody stole it actually. My mother made me keep it in the shed, and someone broke into the shed and stole it because it was that good. It was really, it was the sort of gun you'd never have sold because it was that good, very accurate. I had a few 2.2s because naturally you want to go bigger and more powerful and better, and loads of kids whose parents had money would get them all these fancy guns, and none of them was good. They couldn't hit the things that I could hit with my little BSA Cadet. But one of the other best guns I got was a BSA Meteor, I seem to remember, and I made the fatal mistake of selling it to someone who was desperate to buy it off me. Kept bidding me loads of money at it, and I thought, oh, go on then. And I should never have sold that, because I bought a few following that and they were crap, they were rubbish in comparison. But one of the tricks that we used to do as kids, when you open the barrel and you put your pellet in, you'd put a bit of oil behind it, and we got some diesel oil at first, because you know diesel, when it compresses it ignites, so we figured that it'd ignite and it'd go a bit faster, the pellet, and whether it did or not, we were convinced it did, but it probably, nobody had coronagraphs in those days to measure the speed of the pellet like people have these days. I've seen videos on it. People use all kinds of things, 3-in-1 oil, WD-40, Vaseline. Vaseline seems to be the best one. Once you put your pellet in, you put some Vaseline behind it and fire it, and it does seem to go a little bit faster. I've seen the chronographs. They might add about 10-20% more power, I think. I don't know. Negligible, but people claim it does actually work. But it won't work, I don't think, in a CO2 gun, because a lot of guns have these little CO2 capsules these days. And CO2, they use CO2 in fire extinguishers, and you need to have the circle, don't you? You need to have the fuel, the oxygen, and the source of ignition. And now with compression, that's the source of ignition. The oil is the fuel, but there's no air because it's being pumped with CO2, isn't it? Which is, if there's any kind of combustion to cause any kind of thrust, it's not going to happen in a CO2 environment, is it? It's just not going to work. So it would be pointless trying to put Vaseline on your pellets. I've never tried it, but I'm pretty convinced it won't work. It will not work. But I have a question for airgun experts, because I know there's a lot of airgun experts out there. Now I've got a section of an air rifle. This is an old air rifle, and that pin there, that's where the barrel would have been, and it would have cocked. And as it cocks, it would push the piston back. And obviously this has been cut off so you can see what's going on. There's a little hole there, can you see that? So the piston's back here somewhere, and when you fire it, it shoots forward, but it's got a huge spring stuck up its back end there. It shoots forward, compressing all that air, and comes to a halt there, blowing the air out of that hole there. Now, I've often looked at that hole, and I've thought to myself, if you've got a slightly bigger drill and drilled that out, we can get it there, drilled it out a little bit wider, would it actually produce more power, or would it mess your air rifle up and make it useless? That's why I've never done it, and it is quite thick actually. Looking at this cross section, that's where, see, that's where it is in there. So it's a big stonking great piece of, it's like you've got to drill through quite a long way, you know, from there to there. So it's a really decently made, obviously it's a pressure item, isn't it? So They're well made. The old Springers with the piston. Whereas today, whereas all these CO2 things are all made of aluminium and really thin aluminium tubing for barrels and things. Whereas in the old days, they were proper steel barrels and steel tubes and big springs and things. So that's my question for you airgun experts out there. If you made that hole bigger, would it mess the gun up or would it make it more powerful? I don't know. I've never tried it. And I wouldn't try it actually, because it will probably mess the gun up. Because you can't put it back once you've drilled it out, can you? You've had it. Your gun's useless if your power drops off completely. Don't know. That was just one of my thoughts. And this is obviously an old air gun I got for about £5 because it was knackered. All the springs and things had gone in it, and the seals, and it just like. So I cut it up to have a good look at it, because I like to find out how things work. I've took clocks apart before today and got all the parts, then try and put it all back together. And I did actually manage to. It was quite interesting getting it all back together after I cleaned it all. Then I found out that you just put the whole mechanism, the old brass mechanisms, you put them in a bucket of petrol and swoosh them around. That's how you clean them. You don't take them all apart and put them all back together. But it was a good exercise, because it kept stopping, and I wanted to find out why it kept stopping and try and fix it. I did fix it in the end. But what paid to my pendulum clock, wind up pendulum clock endeavours, was we moved on to a boat, and pendulums don't work on boats because the boats rock around and the clocks keep stopping. So knocked all that on the head, unless you've got the flywheel type, which is a more modern version of the old clockwork clocks. But great. I mean, I used to love clocks. I used to go to the charity shop, the one that Sherry Blair was at, and we used to buy old mantle clocks and things like that and fiddle with them and get them working properly and sell them on eBay and stuff like that. You know, I didn't really make a lot of money out of it, but I mean, considering the hours of work you're putting into getting these things working, but it was interesting. It was interesting, definitely. And I'm interested in air guns and things today. Yeah. So ideally, I suppose, if you wanted to do some dieseling with pellets, you'd be better off with a PCP, because these have got a big tank of air on the gun, and they can fire rapid fire. They've got like a little. We never had this sort of thing when I was a kid, but it was literally just one shot, break, put your pellet in, close it. But today you can have these PCPs, and you can just fire them like 8, 12 shots, something like that, straight off. So if you had your Vaseline in the back of the pellet, I suppose it'd go a little bit better there, wouldn't it? Not really very much. I mean, it's messy. I wouldn't want to be doing it really, because it just mess your fingers up, wouldn't it? And you need to carry a rag everywhere with you. Ugh. But yeah, I think that'd be. And the PCP guns are way more expensive. I think the BB ones are the cheapest, and the Springers are quite cheap. But it's old technology, isn't it? It's old technology. But the good thing I liked about the Springers, you didn't need to refill any bottles anywhere, and they just kept going, didn't they? As long as you lubricate them with a hydraulic oil, I used to put in them down the hole actually. Or when you pull it back, that you would expose a little bit of spring, and you could see you fire a bit in there. I suppose as long as we've got silicon spray today, so which they recommend with CO2 guns for putting on the seals, so they don't. Because when the seals start leaking, your gun starts leaking. It's useless, isn't it? You've got to change the seals, and it's probably cheaper to go and buy a new gun sometimes, and so that one finishes up in a box somewhere. It doesn't work anymore. All good fun though. The air guns tick all my boxes, because I don't want to shoot anybody. I don't want to kill anything. I just like plinking. I like shooting little targets like cans and things in the garden. Yeah, all good fun. And air rifles do that for me. I like them. My missus says to me, "Oh, you don't want another gun, do you?"